This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
And here we are, Lemon's Car Spotting. You tag your photos, Lemon's Car Spotting. You know the drill. We're going back to the 10-car, 2-award winners format. First award is the hooptiest. Second award is the car we really want to see become a Lemons build, which, frankly, that's the point of this whole deal. So Eric's going to select, I guess, for me. I will close my eyes.
Yep, and that's Nick, by the way, in case you didn't know. So here we go.
Stop.
All right, right hand is the hooptiest, left hand is the Lemon. You are the hoopty guy. I am picking the car we most want to see in Lemons. Let us begin.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's a Pontiac Grand Prix.
Yeah, boy. I mean, this is the unofficial car of my hometown. Growing up, like everybody had a Grand Prix. Most of them had the coupe because that was like as sporty as any farm town farmer felt like they were allowed to be, was the mid-tier trim of a Grand Prix coupe. So
yeah, and for those who didn't know, and not that we need to explain this, but Eric's hometown is deeply in the Midwest, which is why this is the official car of his hometown.
Yeah, sorry. Shouldn't assume anybody has any insider knowledge thereof, but yes. And boy, I went to high school with a guy whose dad had one of the early, might have been the turbocharged version, which is this generation. And, winding it out on the straight back roads is kind of where that car lives its best life.
Yeah.
Going in a straight line.
Well, once again, this is from the Duke Arrives regular poster on this channel. He's also tagged it with W Body Nation, which I think we've seen that before and have asked the semi-rhetorical question of, is that a thing? But in any case,
we've never had one of this generation in Lemons. We've had the later ones, the slightly more rounded with the third generation Buick V6, GM Sound of Power.
Right.
So this is the kind of the bridge between the Buick 231 and the one that is in everything, which was also in everything. It just wasn't quite as, refined is not the word, but ubiquitous, maybe.
Yeah. So that would have been the 3800 that replaced this.
Yeah, which this is a 3800 as well. It just
wasn't the same motor.
200 horsepower.
I love, GM people, you can tell us in the comments. I love how, you hear about things like, it's the Buick V6, it's the 60 degrees V6, it's the 90 degree V6. They also have those internal the internal nomenclature for the motors where it's like high value and high output. And I think, clearly neither of those things is true, but some marketing person came up with those names that don't even get used in any of the actual advertising of the cars. But in any case, there's some good ones in there.
Yeah. What was the hashtag? Is 90s GM?
Yeah, 90s GM Logic.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple episodes ago, we had a hashtag of 90s GM Logic, which, if you're ever confused by something, you can always tag it with that as well.
That's right.
We can make it trend. All right.
Oh,
speaking of which, man,
this is also the Duke Arrives. Man.
Yeah, twofer. It's a Cutlass Supreme.
Yeah, all the W bodies. I don't know that I understand Persian girls as the hashtag, but I'll assume that is some inside joke I don't understand.
Yeah, it's probably best left where it is. This thing looks pretty nice. It's got the luggage rack on the back.
There's a lot happening here,
man.
Let's go in order from front to back. Now it has all the cladding on the side. It has alloys that have. I think the Oldsmobile Rocket in the center caps.
Yeah.
It has some letter after the model. I think it's a Cutlass Supreme S, maybe.
Yeah.
No idea what that means. Has the weird split rear window, and
Yep.
then a wraparound rear glass,
Uh-huh.
and then the double side markers underneath the
Yep.
black luggage rack, which was very Euro of them in the GM sense of Euro, which is
Right,
to say,
right.
totally imaginary. But there you go, right there.
Yeah,
Never had
it
one
was-
of these in Lemons either.
Yeah, it was almost like they said, like, well, all of our cars have this chrome, but the BMWs, they do things with black trim. So when we put our luggage rack, we're not going to not have a luggage rack. It's going to be black. That'll make
That's
it
right.
Euro.
Could you imagine leaving your home in Dubuque, Iowa,
Yeah.
packing 3 kids in the back of that thing, and then stacking your luggage on the trunk of this thing over more luggage, and the whole back? I mean, it would be riding like this.
Well, and this thing probably, I mean, one of the real actual redeeming features of this car is it probably has a big old trunk.
Yeah.
But then it also has the luggage rack just in case that's not enough for
right.
you and your Aunt Mabel's 14 suitcases.
That's right. Oh man, so good. I love the coupe versions of these also, where the door is like 9 miles long. And then they also made a convertible version of this,
Oh, baby.
that has the picnic basket style
Roll bar thing.
roll
Yeah.
bar thingy.
Yeah. That's a good look. Yeah. All right. Moving forward. God,
Man,
we are
great
just
GM.
America is back, people. It's a Citation, which, as we've mentioned several times, is a word that most people think of in the context of a parking ticket.
Right.
General Motors seemed to fail to realize that connection and named a whole car after it.
One of the worst cars in history, famously rusted on the show floors before people even bought them, which is amazing.
I mean, this one looks incredibly nice, but I haven't seen one of these in a long time. They probably sold a lot of them, and then they immediately died out. And I've told this story a million times on this channel, but my grandmother, they were Pontiac people in the 60s and had big old Pontiacs to carry the family around. After the kids were out of the house, they decided to downsize. They were brand loyal to Pontiac, and they bought a Pontiac Phoenix and were, suitably punished for that decision.
Yeah.
So
we have had. Go ahead.
And the Pontiac Phoenix, of course, being the Pontiac rebadge version of the Citation.
Yes. We've had 3 Citations in Lemons. I think 2 of them have won IOE, and the other one ran 4 laps and never came back. So I mean,
that's a good return on your investment. I mean, you don't want to be the third guy, but yeah. All right, moving on. God, another El Dorado. Second one in a couple weeks that we've seen of this flavor, front drive El Dorado. Boy, the back is cool on these, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty rad. This must be I hesitate to say it looks like it's the downsized one, but it kind of does. Maybe it's just the angle.
Yeah, I don't know. Tell us in the comments of where this fits into the front drive El Dorado scheme.
It's like a 75 or a 76 if I had to guess, but I love the taillights, and they're on the almost like what you would call that. I guess they're fins.
Yeah, I mean, this is a period of General Motors where I think quality relative to 50s and 60s, such as it was on the downslope, but the styling was still pretty decent.
Yeah.
And then, in the 80s, the styling also went the way of the quality, which is to say into the crapper.
Yeah.
But and of course, big block front drive, what's not to like?
Again, like the Pontiac Grand Prix with the turbo, will go in a straight line like hell. So,
yeah, right. God, we're 4 for 4 on General Motors here.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it going.
I think.
Oh, well, we sort of. Oh no, we did keep it going. Wait, did we?
I think it's a Stratus.
Yeah, it's a Stratus. I thought for a second it was a Cavalier.
Yeah, I did too. From the small image, but
And like the person who uploaded this respecting the not broadcasting the license plate, because this person could be stalked by everyone on the internet.
Boy, there's a lot happening here.
Boy, there really is. There really is. Well, it's got a body kit.
Yeah, I mean, is it a Stratus body kit? Was that ever a thing? Boy,
Yeah, I don't know. I like the little whatever the vortex generators at the trailing edge of the roof, which was like, a thing that the Evo had. And then, copying Mitsubishi is always a good idea. So this guy added it. Got the little mini spoiler. It's quite a thing.
Yeah, that's got to be an OEM spoiler off of something. Right. I don't know what. Oof. There's and it's all on a Stratus, and it's easy to get lost in all of the accoutrement without appreciating the core values of Chrysler in the 90s. Speaking of lost causes.
Indeed. You can remove the in the 90s part of that statement. All right, next up. We've broken our theme of Detroit and and we've gone to Italy. Boy. Alfa 164, very much unloved. I would say mostly for good reason. I'm sure there are Alfa people out there who love these things. They did have the Busso V6, which is one of, if not the greatest V6 ever created. Our Lemons car, the one that I'm allowed to drive occasionally, is a Alfa Spider, terrible rusty Alfa Spider with one of these V6s in it. And it's a spectacular machine. I mean, you feel like, the sounds coming out of it's got great power. Nothing wrong with that V6. Even by putting it in a very bland looking, probably terribly unreliable 164 wrapper.
Yeah. And again, we've had a couple of these in Lemons, but this is most notable for the Lancia Splatos, which was a Fiat X19.
That's right.
Where they took the entire front cradle of this and shoved it in the back and made a budget Lancia Stratos.
And it came out great.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So I have a buddy who had a Subaru WRX, and it just had countless problems with it. Like, it blew two motors. He kept on top of maintenance, and finally just couldn't take it anymore. Got rid of it, replaced it with a 164. So yeah, but yeah,
certainly a choice.
Fine Lemons car. Yeah, if you want an Alfa these days, Alfas, older ones anyway, are starting to get out of the Lemons pricing scheme, unless it's a really awful Spider like ours. I bet you could still get a bad abandoned 164 somewhere for Lemons money.
Yeah, you can. Well, I know for a fact I have friends who acquired 3 Milanos for free from the garage, but only one of them runs, and the other two are mysteriously not running. So.
Well, so the Milano also has the Busso V6, the smaller version than what the 164 got, but the Milano is rear drive, so that's a plus for the Milano. All right, next up. Oh man, look at that! God, I remember these. What were they called?
The Spirit.
Yeah.
Spirit, Acclaim.
Yeah.
LeBaron. The LeBaron sedan was also built on this. Yeah.
It wasn't also the Duster, was it?
No, the Duster was slightly smaller. The Acclaim was what this was, which I had an Acclaim.
So you are qualified to speak on the subject.
Yeah, boy. My Acclaim had the Mitsubishi 6G72, also known as the worst engine in Lemons, and it was really great until it wasn't all of a sudden, and spectacularly as it blew. It blew up. It shot a rod out the side of the block while I was driving it home in the middle of the night, as they do. Now, this one, I think, has a Turbo 4 in it, which is in the running for equally awful.
Well, so the Dodge Turbo 4-cylinder of that era is one of those engines on the internet, like, oh, budget power. You will be 500 horsepower and you will be owning noobs.
Yeah.
And in fact, in this caption, it says, this car was a beast in its day. It was a sleeper. And, not to dispute that, I do think that Dodge of that era, and arguably Dodge of this era, they had horsepower and that's all they had. And that, that attracts a certain kind of buyer, and distracts from the fact that the rest of the car is probably awful. But this is, boy, we've seen Lemon's cars of this era. We've seen a couple of spirits of this era. Although I don't know that we've ever seen one that's this sort of later version with the rounded 90s crosshair grille and the body kit.
All right, we've had one, and it's worth the aside here, which is this is, I don't think this is a Spirit RT, but maybe it is. So the Spirit RT is the one that had the twin cam version of the turbo motor with an intercooler, and it made 230 horsepower, so it was claimed, and would go 0 to 60, as quick as a Mustang GT. It was much, in the way that auto journalists never think about what happens to the car in 18 months.
Right.
It was very
highly rated.
So Judge Phil had proclaimed that any Spirit RT that shows up would be a Class C car. This poor team brought one, and it was literally just dumping oil out of everywhere. Like they had fabricated catch cans out of 1 gallon plastic juice bottles just to get through tech, so they could then solve all of their problems. And all of the catch bottles were completely full of oil. It was just coming out of everywhere. Needless to say, they did not pass tech. They took their RT home. We haven't seen it since. It's around somewhere. But
I mean, the rest of the safety equipment, which, in some ways is the hard part, is probably still applicable. So, something to keep an eye out for if you're an aspiring Lemons team, somebody's stalled out project.
That's right.
Buyer beware if it happens to be a Spirit RT, but
you could
they're
probably
out
just
there.
Find like a not turbo engine and put it in there, and it would probably run okay. Slow, but okay.
Yeah. All right. Next up. Oh, baby. Oh, man. So we have sort of I don't know what the word is. Love-hate isn't the right word. Mixed feelings, maybe. In terms of air-cooled Volkswagens in Lemons, obviously we love them. They are terrible. They're entertaining. If it's a Carmen Ghia, it's, got that extra little bit of pizzazz. But they're kind of dangerous little cars, for lack of a better description.
There's a whole problem of no front structure to speak of. The sheet metal's super thin. There's really nothing to stop anything from killing you if you
and our safety requirements are applicable to 95% of the cars that you might bring to a Lemons race, which is to say, if you bring a real car to a Lemons race, just follow our safety rules to the letter and you'll be fine. For a car like this, we sometimes require going a little bit beyond what's written in the rules. So, certainly not illegal to bring a Bug or a Carmen Ghia to a Lemons race. People have done it, but check in with us first. We might, require a little bit more death prevention when you're working with one of these.
Yep. Which
I will also say, go ahead.
I was going to say, which brings up the famous Emerson Fittipaldi twin engine Beetle that raced in endurance races, and all of the brilliant ideas surrounding that by doubling the horsepower.
Our longtime staffer and Sunbeam Alpine owner, Armin Bengal, his girlfriend, she drives like a Prius C, which, she's obviously the smart one in the relationship. Her dream car, Carmen Ghia. And we always tell her, that's an attainable dream.
That is absolutely
some
attainable.
Some of us want like a 250 GTO, and that's not going to happen. But
It's good color on that one too.
Yeah,
Purple.
kind of an eggplant.
Yeah.
Ah, we're back to our roots for
Man.
this segment.
And yet again, there's a lot of the Duke arrives in this group, and
Yeah.
we're all related cars.
Yeah, God, Regency.
I couldn't tell you what platform that is
Yeah,
at all.
no idea. No idea.
I will guarantee it has a 3.8 liter Buick V6 though.
Yeah, yeah. God, and then we've bagged on General Motors marketing and product planning many times on our YouTube channel, but doesn't the word Regency just, Hyatt Regency is the first thing you think of, right?
Right.
And it's like, I'm going to name my car after a hotel chain. Like, what are you guys doing? Or what? Like, if it's not a hotel, it's got to be an old folks home or like a gated community. Like nothing that imparts anything desirable in a vehicle.
Right. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. That pretty much sums it up. It's got the good Oldsmobile wheels of the era. I will say that.
Basically, like a BMW BBS mesh is what that is.
It is much like General Motors' interpretation of BMW trim. The interpretation of BMW wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
Is a perfect correlation. So.
Well, I don't know if this is still true, but at one point we added up all of the IOE winners, Index of Efficiency, Grand Prize, and Lemons, given out to the car that essentially does the most with the least. And it was heavily skewed towards General Motors.
It's close to half.
Yeah. And cars like this, I think if you were even to break it down further into 80s, 90s pseudo luxury General Motors, I think the percentage would be even higher. Yeah. So if you want to bring one of these to Lemons race, be prepared for glory.
Yep, the Oldsmobile Hyatt Regency.
Yeah, right. All right. Last car for the week. Oh.
Yeah.
Now, we have not had one of these yet. Is that right?
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, it's a Subaru Justy. Speaking of names, to be fair to General Motors, if we're going to bag on Regency, I think we also have to bag on Justy, although Justy just makes me smile.
Yeah.
Like
Justy little car.
Regency is just like, oh, that's dumb and annoying. It just makes me upset that they can't get their act together. Justy is sort of like a cheerful cluelessness that is kind of endearing, which I think fits the vehicle.
Yeah, boy. So until the Tribeca, I think this was like the first Subaru. This Tribeca was the first Subaru since the Justy to not have a boxer engine. Had a V6, I think. These are a 3-cylinder, like 1.2 liter engine, and they had a CVT as an option, but all of those are long dead. So what's left are the ones with the stick, usually.
Well, and you can maybe share your experiences in the comments, but I understand that modern day Subaru has totally fixed all problems with CVT.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's what I thought.
Following up on their innovations, as you do.
So basically, I guess on the one hand, you could look at this car like a competitor to the Geo Metro, and I like to think of like the boardrooms at these companies being like, damn, like look at that, we've got to get in on that action.
Yeah.
But I think what it really was they were making little tiny cars like this for like the Japanese market, and then thought like, oh well, people are going to want small fuel efficient cars in the States too, and that's how they wound up here. And they weren't wrong. I don't know about the Justy, but the Metro, you saw them around. I think they sold in decent numbers.
Yeah. All of those subcompacts were Japanese cars. So the Festiva was a Mazda 121. Right. Justy was the Justy. The Metro was a Suzuki Swift.
Yeah. Well,
there you go.
This one, of course, has the distinction of being all-wheel drive. So, more grip that way.
That's right. You dominate Class D in the rain. So
time to pick some awards. I've got the hooptiest. Boy, all of those, the Duke Arrives posts of the General Motors cars, those are all really nice examples. So I don't think those are going to fit in the hooptiest.
Yeah.
The one that absolutely does, meanwhile. I mean, come on. This was a bad car before you started messing with it. And then you're sort of into this weird zone of, did you make it worse? Did you make it better? I don't know. It's more
Can you
interesting.
make it worse? I don't.
I mean, somebody certainly wouldn't have snapped a picture of it had you not made the additions. So I guess that makes it an improvement. So in any case, that's my hooptiest.
Yeah, I think that's totally. Boy, that's you. Can, yeah, you nailed it. There's no way around that. Boy, for the one that most want to see in lemons, I'd love to see somebody bring in a Spirit RT again and give it a whirl.
Well, it's fun to watch people struggle. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And we had a team with a Omni GLH that I think it was a Charger GLH. Doesn't really matter. That took all of the GLH stuff and threw it in the garbage and put a Reliant 80 horsepower engine in it. And it ran fine until they put the turbo engine back in it and then it blew everything up. But I think the car we most need to have in lemons for it to kind of just be, a complete set of lemons. It's got to be the Justy. We need a Justy in lemons.
Yeah, yeah. It really is amazing that when we say this all the time, like, oh yeah, there's a car we've never seen before in lemons, and every year somebody knocks at least a couple of those cars off the list. But in doing this thing, we see that there's usually at least 1 out of 10 of the cars that gets posted that we haven't yet seen in lemons. So we're always excited when something new shows up. If it's a Justy, so much the better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. You're not going to spend anything on brakes or tires. It's not going to go fast enough to use them up.
That's totally actually a really good point. Like, people ask us about, what kind of consumables do I have to bring? How many sets of tires? How many sets of brake pads? It depends wholly. I mean, to a certain extent, if your car's running, what's your driving style? Yeah. But it really depends heavily on how much your car weighs and was it designed for this sort of driving. Yeah. So, I mean, things like big American cars, they just eat up tires, brakes, suspension pieces, all of that. These cars are just kind of happy to go around at whatever their top maximum capability is, and it doesn't really wear anything out.
Yeah, and you'll have fun, and people love looking at cars like this. It's perfect for lemons.
That's right. All right, that'll do it for this week. Keep tagging your Instagram photos with Lemons Car Spotting, and we will review them on this channel, and maybe we'll see some of these cars at a Lemons race.
It's just the little car.
Indeed.